Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. It is Friday, June 12th. Summer is flying by. I hope everybody's doing well. I see Michael Bateman on there. Hey, Michael, working on the computer with you in my head. What could possibly go wrong? Isn't that the truth? Oh, my goodness. Well, today we got a special interview. Mark Hall with Casting Crowns is going to be on in just a moment with us. But I wanted to see how everybody's doing and see who's out there today listening, watching. Um, we're going to have a good time. I really appreciate all the people that have shared the new music video. Let me get this mic a little closer so maybe hear a little bit better. Uh, anyway, the new music video that Don and I did, if you don't know what that is, go to youtube.com/Scott Davis TV. I think I have that. I tell you what, David. Hey, David St. Alban. We're going to be his way in November for a Back to Normal tour. So be watching for that. That's going to be fun. But if you go to YouTube.com/Scott Davis. Let me spell this right. Don't you love. There it is. YouTube.com/Scott Davis TV. You will see the new music video. We've already got over 1,000, 1,100 views on the new Far From You. It is a parody of Close to You by the Carpenters. My wife and I did it. It's kind of our story of being quarantined for 2 months. We had fun doing it. And Donna did a great job. Oh my goodness. Several people said, you need to get her to sing more. Tell me to shut up and tell her to sing more. And she needs to do more with me. I think she's a great singer. So go check that video out if you haven't seen it yet. Far From You at youtube.com/Scott Davis TV, and share it with people. Share it with all kind of people. And while you're there, go ahead and hit subscribe to the channel and subscribe to my YouTube TV channel. It's not, for my ego. It's YouTube goes by numbers, and the more people who subscribe, the more they promote the channel to people. So it's kind of like a snowball effect, and we can reach more people because we do give the gospel on there, and we do have, put the gospel out on our channel. So we want to reach as many people as we can, and this is a whole new way of doing that. So please go check that out, youtube.com/Scott Davis TV, and share that video with as many people as you can, and stay till the end of the video. If you haven't seen, there's a little outtake at the end too, so check that out. A little blooper reel at the end. Every movie I go to, my wife, she like rolls her eyes because I stay for every single last credit there is. I stay for it because I want to see if there's a blooper there or a little teaser for the next movie or something like that. So go to Scott Davis TV on YouTube, click the subscribe button, and there should be a little bell that you ring. And when you click that, all that does is it notifies you when I upload a new video or notifies you when I go live like I am right now. And today, speaking of movies, today is Superman Day. I didn't know that. But that happens to be my favorite superhero character is Superman. So might have to pull out some old Superman. And my favorite one, I like the new ones, but my favorite was Christopher Reeve. I don't know if anybody remember those, but those were great ones. Robert Foster, hey, miss you too, my friend. Robert Foster, good to see you. Let me take that YouTube. I think y'all know now, youtube.com/Scott Davis TV. So go over there and subscribe to that channel. But yeah, it's been crazy these past 2 months. All of our dates have been moved. But not this Sunday, but next Sunday, Father's Day, will be my first concert out on the road again. And I'll be at Mabel White Baptist down in Macon, Georgia for Father's Day. And unless they cancel it for some reason at the last minute, I'm going to show up. I'm going to be there with pants on because I haven't worn pants for 3 months. So I'm going to be there fully dressed. Finally, we can get out. So I'm going to be there. And then the week after that, go to scottdavis.com. You see it over there in the little corner. It should be right over there somewhere in the corner. scottdavis.com, and go to the tour page, and it should be updated. I'll be at Mabel White Baptist in Macon next Sunday, Sunday after next. And then we're 3 dates down in Florida the next week. And we'll be a Friday night, and then 2 on Sunday down in Florida. So we'll be driving down there. So if you're in close to any of those places, come on out. Come on out. It's time to get out. It's time to celebrate Jesus. Do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together. And where 2 or 3 or more are gathered together, that's the key, being together. So we need to get back out there. So, well, let's get right into it. Let me get my little intro going here for my video, for my interview. My wife says I shouldn't call these interviews because I talk to the people. I don't just ask questions. We end up conversing. It ought to be, I might change it to conversations with Mark Hall, conversations with Babby Mason, conversations with Scott Davis, that type of thing. We might change it to that. So So let me get the little intro going, and we'll bring Mark Hall from Casting Crowns. This is going to be a good one. So. I'm very excited today to have on the show with me a good friend, but also a singer, songwriter, author. I don't know. He might even dance, but please welcome Mark Hall.
What's up, my friend?
Oh, it's good to see you. How are you doing during this whole Corona time?
I'm just getting more used to and less in love with talking on screens to people.
Yes, I agree with
I
that.
think I'm about zoomed out. I'm about group meet out. I'm about everything out. I'm ready to get around people again.
I hear you. You know, I told somebody the other day, China was not the source of this virus. Zoom was because they wanted to make money.
Whoever came up with it is doing good.
That's right, exactly. And we have to remind people, listen, we got to get back to church because somebody posted on Facebook, man, this whole Zoom thing's great. Why don't we just sell our church building and meet this way every week? No.
That's an introvert talking for you right there.
That's right, exactly.
I don't touch anyone. No one tries to love on me.
Exactly. I love that. For those that don't know who Mark Hall is the lead singer of a little band called Casting Crowns, which has been around for how many years now, Mark? Forever.
I think, well, we got signed in 2003, so I don't do that math. That's a lot. That's a long time.
2003.
And we were around a few years before that.
Yes, you were, because I first met you probably around 99, 2000, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Billy Lord is our worship pastor at our church, and Billy and I go back 30-something years to Liberty University, and I was doing these, and I still do, these student conferences, and I asked Billy, I said, Billy, you know, I'm getting older and fatter and balder. Do you know anybody that can relate to you, that kind of has a funny edge to him? They said, there's this guy that speaks at the Union Grove High School and middle school, and he's funny, and the kids seem to like him. I said, what's his name? And I called you up and asked you if you would be interested in speaking at one of my conferences. Didn't even know you sang. And you graciously said, yeah, I'd love to. And you started coming, and you asked me one time, said, can I sing at this conference? And I said, I don't know. If you want to, I ain't paying you for that, but if you can you? And it turned out to be great. I thought that was wonderful. I knew there was something special about your music. I was in Alaska at a large church up there speaking for a weekend, and they had me stay over and speak in their Christian school. And your custom album, it was the one that was done right before, which had If We Are the Body and all these different songs on there. And I had stuck that, I gave that to the girl to do like pre-music before the chapel of this Christian school and for the post-music. And afterwards, after I spoke and did my thing, this teenager ran up to me and she goes, "Is that you singing? Is that you singing?" I said, "No, but I wish it was now." And she said, "Because I love that. Who is this?" And that was even before you guys were known. And I thought, right then, God told me, he said, there's something special about that group. So tell people, for those that don't know, kind of a little brief history of how you got discovered. Because I know musicians who are songwriters, you want people to hear your music. You want to get it out there and hopefully get somebody to find out about you. So tell how that happened.
Well, you know, the funny thing is you're telling this story, and I just thought of a visual aid that would help this interview.
Okay.
Now, Casting Crowns is not the first band I started. So when I went on to be youth pastor, I was 21. I had no idea what I was doing. I knew that I loved Jesus, and I kind of liked teenagers. I wasn't so sure about them. And a guy asked me to come lead a thing at his church for a bunch of kids. And that's where it started in my heart. Like, oh my gosh, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I went to college to do music and lead music and worship in churches.
Right.
And accidentally just listened to Jesus on the right day and went to this rally and saw this whole new world. And I didn't know what contemporary worship was. I didn't know, at that time they were saying, do y'all sing praise choruses? I'm like, choruses? Is that like the chorus to the hymn? Like, is that the bottom part of the hymn book?
Right.
And so it was really just from there that I discovered a new way to worship and new songs, a new way that you could write your own songs, and all that started. And one of the first bands I started was this group right here.
Voice.
One Voice.
Oh, One Voice. Wow, look at that.
Yep, you'll see my large head in the middle there with the color block shirt.
That's right.
Because we wanted to be for him. That was our goal.
That is awesome.
For him was the jam.
Sure.
And so yeah, so I started a group with them and doing youth ministry, but I was writing songs.
Gotcha.
So that's where it all started. Was I'm writing these songs. So we would just start doing music for our youth group and doing music in the area. And then I had a group at another church that I went to called the New Life Rookies. And we did camps and retreats. And then when I went to Daytona, I started Casting Crowns. And it's always been a ministry to kind of complement what I'm doing in the local church.
Right.
And then as I'm teaching in the local church, what I'm teaching turns into the songs. So you wouldn't have one without the other.
I got you.
And that's kind of where that started.
So the lyrics of your songs come out of the messages that you give to the young people.
Right. So when I play a new song to kids, I'm like, I remember when you said that. You know,
yes.
It'll be something I said at camp or something that happened in worship or something like that. And we were in Daytona, and Mark Miller of Sawyer Brown, a college kid from my youth group, gave him our CD at a basketball camp.
I got you.
His name's Chase. And he's now my favorite person ever. Yeah. But he was just a college kid at a basketball camp, and he met Mark Miller, this country singer, and he's like, "Dude, you need to hear my youth pastor," and gave him the CD. And everybody gives them CDs, so it found its way into his car. And then when he was going to the beach to vacation, he pulled it out and started playing it. Met Stephen Curtis Chapman and his family at the beach on that vacation, and they started listening to our music, and they called me from the beach.
Wow.
And that's where this all started. It wasn't something we were really seeking out. And
Sure.
I'm not saying that because it's a not good to seek out. I'm just telling you our story.
Right.
Was that I knew that I needed to be in the church. I knew that I was writing songs, but I didn't see how I could be a youth pastor and not be home. Like, there are a lot of guys that can travel and come back and lead worship, but youth ministry is just a different world.
Right.
So I just sort of resigned to, I'm going to write songs, and maybe one day I could be a writer for other singers. But I was 34 when Crowns was discovered. So I didn't have these big, crazy, I want to go, do all this stuff. We had just had our third child. I'm like, I'm good. I'm here, So it really was a God thing to move us out to do both.
And that was your passion. Your first passion is youth ministry and being a youth pastor.
Yeah, totally.
And when you started, when things started happening, and you started, tell a little bit, because I know your wife Melanie Hall is a major role in this, because when you first started out, things took off, and it was a great ministry, but that was a lot of work, and you trying to juggle. Because I know you've told that at our church before. I don't know if you told it, but you may have told it publicly. But tell our people about that. How that juggling happened.
Well, when Mark Miller in the music world kind of came to us and said, "We want you to do this. We want to sign you, and this is what it would involve." I told him I could probably do that if I could stay a youth pastor, but I know I need to stay a youth pastor. And I think in their heads, not in a bad way, but they just thought, that's cool, but you will eventually have to leave the church to do this.
Right.
And that's kind of what was in everybody's mind, because that's what most people would do.
Oh, and I told you when because you were my youth pastor at our church. I mean, I'm older. You weren't my youth pastor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you were the youth pastor of the church I attended. And I remember when you first started traveling a bit, I thought, you ain't going to stay here. Because I've seen this happen too many times. People, they hit it big time and they quit that and they just do their music thing, and that's all they do. And
Interesting side story.
Yeah.
Right when the Crown started happening, there were some families in the church that weren't quite sure about this.
Right.
And they started kind of yaying about it. And it got to me right before a Wednesday night worship. And at that time, families were all coming to Wednesday night too.
Right.
And they were kind of talking about me a little bit. And I remember saying to the group, I'm hearing a lot that you guys think that I'm just going to go be a rock star and leave this place and ditch this. And, I think you think that about me because that's what you would do.
Yeah.
Quiet. It was the quietest I've ever heard in the room.
That's right.
And I said, but I'm here because God called me here. This is why I'm here. And God doesn't uncall me because some door opens.
Sure.
When a door opens, that's nowhere in the Bible. That's just a thing we've invented. The door
Yeah.
opens, you got to go through it. And so I told him this is what we're doing, and it's been that way ever since. And but when we first got started, it was really tough to handle, really tough to balance. And they were looking for a tour for us, and they said, hey, we've got a tour. It's like a Jars of Clay tour. And I was like, what? And but they can only take 2 of you. And I was like, okay, that's not going to work. I'm not going to ditch my people. I'm going to get all this way and then ditch my people. So that went away. So I thought, okay, that's over. We're never going to do this again. And then Rebecca St. James tour came up, and they said, can you do this? It was 2 weeks before the tour started. We weren't even on the poster. We played like 12 minutes at the beginning, and it was us before her. And I've always loved Rebecca's stuff and her family, right? So we go on that tour, and it was like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, but it was straight.
Right.
And I came home and said, okay, Mel, I'm done. Thanks. Enjoyed the Crowns thing. I'm not doing this anymore. And she said, well, you kind of signed contracts and stuff. You're kind of in this now. I said, they're Christians. They'll understand. They'll be fine. But I just said, I'm not going to be away like this. I'm not going to be here, and my family's here. It's just not how I'm going to do this. And at that point, she said, okay, well, if you want, I can come out of the student ministry stuff at the church and run Crowns, and you can just stay in student ministry. And that's when we made the call. And at that point, she stepped in with management team and booking and all that. But she's the gatekeeper of all that we do.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm the big picture guy and what we're going to say and where I think we should say it. But this is how this is all going to work. So there's no Crowns without what she does.
Absolutely.
And that's how it happened. So I keep my head in things that are going on here, and she runs that. Like right now, we're working on a drive-in theater tour of all.
And I've seen that. I've seen that with Toby Mac and Newsboys and others that are doing that type of thing, which I think is a great idea. But she does. She sits out there and she plans all those dates, and you just show up and do your thing, and that's a lot of work because you got to plan that out. But it lets you concentrate on these youth at church every week, which is awesome. And that
part of growing up and maturing as a leader and as a believer is, the common way to say it now is stay in your lane.
Right.
But I think what we've got to know is that we weren't given all the gifts. Okay. So when I was young, I was intimidated by people that had gifts that I didn't have. So I would kind of, not even knowing it, kind of edge them out. Right. And creative types are intimidated by organized types. Organized types are annoyed by creative types. But if they ever got together, good stuff can happen.
Right.
And so I'm just learning that it takes a team to do all this. Like, even though I'm youth pastor here at Eagles Landing, this is not on my shoulders. There's a team here that does all of this. I'm basically helping Neil do student ministry.
Right.
And so I see that I have a part to play in all of it, but I can't be the big cheese in everything. If God's going to use it, we got to all have a part in it.
Absolutely. Now, you went through because you've always been a prayer warrior for other people and helped people going through physical ailments and that type of thing. But it was a little different for you when it struck home and you found out you had cancer. Tell a little bit about that.
Man, I'd been a youth pastor half my life, and I've walked through that cancer journey with, I don't even know how many families. And it's such a tough road to walk with people through that. But when the doctor says it to you, that's a whole new website. And that shook me pretty good. It didn't shake me in all the ways that I thought it might, but all I could think was, I wasn't mad. I'm not exactly shoveling in kale to my mouth every day. I'm not, for me to be angry about my health.
If it's sugar coated, maybe.
Yeah. Sugar coated and kale extracted.
That's right.
But so wasn't like that, but it was like, God, how to get everybody through this? Right. Like, how am I going to get my kids through this? How am I going to do Crowns? How am I going to love on kids if I'm, and it what not in a, that's not a humble brag. It hit me in that, God, how could you let this happen right now? Right. I'm one of the good guys.
Right.
How am I going to do all the stuff I'm doing? I'm not out clubbing baby seals. I'm doing good stuff here. Right. I'm on the good team, and all the things that you know better than to say. This is kind of what started coming out. And I remember when I found out that I went in for acid reflux and I came out with a tumor. That was in a day. And it was on Wednesday night. It was youth group night. I'm at a funeral, coming out of a funeral when he calls me to say, and he texted me during a funeral.
The
and
doctor.
He said,
the doctor.
"You need
Yeah.
my doctor's
Yeah.
sorry, my doctor's Scott Davis, good friend of mine. So he just talks back and forth with me. He just shoots it straight. Stop eating so much pizza. You're
Right, right,
huge. I mean, he bought me a scale and gave it to me at church. Like, we're very personal.
Right,
But
right.
he texted me and he said, "I need you to call me." And man, when I read that text, I was like, he's never said anything like that before. And everything in me was like, something's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Come out in the parking lot. I find out you got a tumor in this kidney. It's big. We don't need to mess with it. We just need to take that whole kidney. We don't need to poke it. We don't need to do anything. And then we find out what's next. And that's what I walked out with.
Right.
Then I go to youth group. So I'm in youth group, and I've got kids just everywhere. And I'm supposed to be the, keeping everybody going. And I remember just kind of saying, "Neil, run with this for a second." And I walk out in the parking lot, and that's kind of where I had my moment.
Right.
And I was like, "God, what are we doing? What am I supposed to do with this?" And I was immediately trying to figure out, I guess men are fixers, right? So I'm trying to, how do I fix this? And I'd kind of decided things. I don't want to tell anybody this.
Yeah.
I don't want the church to know. I don't want my kids to know. They're just going to be scared. How can I just get this surgery over with and nobody be worried about it? Mm-hmm. And the scripture that popped in my head was when David said, "Why are you so downcast, O my soul? Put your hope in God."
Right.
Why so downcast, O my soul? Put your hope in God. And that was my moment in that, just realizing that I was listening to my feelings, and that's where the song "Oh My Soul" came from. It started that night. I walked out of the parking lot into this room, into that piano right there, and started writing this song, "Oh My Soul." Where why are you weary? You're listening to the wrong voices, And but that was a tough. There's a lot of lessons that came out of cancer for me.
Well, and you learned that there's a lot of people out there who truly cared, that needed, not just wanted to, but needed to pray for you. And I'm so glad that you did let people know that in our church family. And because you would rally around people and pray for them and want to know about those things, but you seemed a little hesitant, like you said, to let us know. And when you did, I think that was a good thing, because we all wanted to pray for you.
The thing I've always tried to encourage people with was the thing that I actually knew about, and that was, when you love somebody that's hurting,
right,
your tendency is to feel like you've got to fix it with your words, and you don't know how to fix it, so you end up pulling back.
Yeah.
And you'll actually stay away from people that you really need to be loving, because you feel all the responsibility of fixing it. So I've always loved on kids and showed them that you don't have to fix things. Just go and be there and go and love them. You don't have to have the right words, because we can say some really corny things when our friends are hurting. Yeah. But when cancer happened, I learned the other side of it. Mm-hmm. And I learned that I had a lot of pride. Mm. And I masked it in a lot of stuff. And I had a lot of great reasons. Like, I don't want people coming up saying weird, "You got this, God's good."
Right.
All those little Twitter things and memes and stuff. And I'm like, dude, just don't,
Right.
And I disguised it in just thinking that people were annoying and I didn't want to deal with it. But it was really just pride is what it was. Right. And I learned that I'm a giver when other people are hurting, but I'm not a good receiver when I'm hurting.
Right.
And I was robbing the church of what the church needs to be doing. And I had to humble myself and be the one in pain and let other people love me. That's hard to do for guys.
Oh, yeah, very hard.
But, yeah, you got to let people in. You really got to let people in. And that was the lesson God taught me in that, was letting people in. And
I learned a long time, because I'm a talker. I love to talk, and I talk all the time inappropriately. I say the wrong things around the people. I really can just, I try to be a blessing, but I spread division, and I'm good at that kind of stuff.
Talk first,
that's
think
right,
later.
Exactly. But I've learned around people that are going tough times just to shut up, but just to be there. And sometimes that's good, just to know that a friend is there. I've gone over to people's house going through similar things, and just not say a word for 3 hours and watch a show with them or something. That presence is very, very good. Now,
and not going anywhere in a crazy direction, but even where we are right now as a country with racial tensions, I feel that white Christians don't know what to say. They have big feelings and they want to help.
Yeah.
But because Instagram is a square, you got to come up with a short way of saying stuff, and it can come off snarky. It can come off not communicating everything you wanted to say, and it can come off corny. And I feel like we need to say something, but we've got to learn how to not say things sometimes and just listen.
Oh yeah,
and just love people where they are. That was a mini break.
And I cannot tell you how many times I've tried to say okay, and I do this, and I say Donna, my wife, I say Donna, what do you think about this? And she'll go, yeah. And so I don't, and so there's nothing out there. I don't say anything. She says, better keep your mouth shut, on this one, and so I do.
Yeah, it's good to be a voice, but not to feel that you're going to fix it with your post.
Yeah, right.
And I've typed plenty of things out and just went right back to the start and go, all right, here's a puppy.
Exactly. Yeah. And speaking of, and this whole thing that we're going through, this whole racial thing, I've learned that, I have opinions at home, and I'll tell my wife, and she'll have to leave the room, because she don't want to hear my opinions. But when I'm out and about, I live in a neighborhood. I'm about the only white person around here, and I grew up. I live in the house I grew up in, and it just changed over the years. But I see things on TV, and I watch Fox News and I watch MSNBC. I watch both, and I yell at all of them, and I get mad at all of them. But then I go to Waffle House, and I'm the only white person there, and I say, "Hey Pat," and "Hey Sally," and we get along fine. And it's like, what is going on here? Because I get along with everybody, and it's never bothered me about that kind of stuff. And it's like a lot of this stuff is manufactured, I believe, that we see on television.
It can be, because the angrier voices are going to be the loudest.
Right.
And I think in this moment, for me as a believer, I need to understand that there are problems. Yes. And racism is real.
Yeah.
Reform needs to happen in certain things. I know that, but I also know that as a believer, I have a different compass in me than just saying firing this guy and hiring this guy is going to fix it.
Right.
So what I've been trying to do is just free people up. You can realize racism is real and realize we need to change, but that you don't have to strap on a jersey of a hashtag or a name of a movement to say you love people. And that's kind of what's being pushed on us right now as believers is, if you really love black people, you will put this on your tag. That's just nowhere in scripture. That's just people. So I can't please people with that. I know that Black Lives Matter. We all know that.
Yeah, sure.
But when you put them all together with a hashtag, it represents a lot more thoughts than just that.
Exactly.
And a lot more beliefs that I don't share. So I've got to be free to know that as a believer, I got to know racism's real. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like I hurt people or think badly of people because of their color, but I'm not just going to rest where I am either. So I'm like, God, show me what more I can do right now.
Right.
Like, how can I even step this up and knock down some walls with people? And a lot of thoughts on that, and that probably just all blurted out. But I think this is a gospel problem.
Absolutely.
And it's a heart problem. And programs and hashtags don't change the heart. They just pour gas on anger. And we got to know that only God can heal this. So we're not going to heal it without him. And that.
Well, and it's a spiritual sin problem. That's what it boils down to. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
And everybody has a need for a savior. Whether George Floyd was a good guy, bad guy, whatever, he still didn't deserve to die. And I think that guy, policeman, sinned by doing too much to him. Obviously, it was sin. But you don't combat sin with sin. They go out and rob and murder, those type of things. That's just more sin. And
and that's been unfortunate because there are a lot of points that needed to be made in this.
And you miss it.
Got derailed.
Right, exactly.
It got derailed with the crime. So I think the big thing for us is not to just hashtag thing, because when we try to fix it as Christians and then say things like, well, all lives matter. And yeah, I know, but you're kind of blinking a little bit. You're kind of showing something. We got to be careful with that because, I'm not going to come out on Breast Cancer Awareness Day and say, what about kidney cancer, guys? I had kidney cancer.
Right.
All organs matter. Okay, I know. So and do all lives matter? Yes. But right now, we need to back up off the slogans
Yeah,
sarcasm
I agree.
is never going to help. You can say the right thing, but slant it a little bit and it has some bite, and that never hits the person you're aiming at, right? It always
Exactly.
hits somebody else. And usually when you say something kind of snarky, you've really got like one or two people in your head, but you're sending it to everybody, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah.
Oh,
We
and
just need
I
to chill a little bit. Just need to chill a little bit and start loving people better. Hear
and
their
I've
hurts.
learned too to I've sat there and I like you said I've sat there and struggled and said I'm going to tweet this or Instagram this or Facebook this, and you back up. We do all these hashtags and these things that don't do anything. I mean, they really don't do anything. And I've learned just to, oh, you know what, I'm going to go to Waffle House and love on my neighbors and my friends. We got to go back to the Bible where it says love your neighbor as yourself. That's the
Yep.
bottom line. That's where we need to go.
And we need to vote.
Yes, and we need to vote. And you know, I went and voted the other day, and it was great. I was probably the only white person in the whole building voting, but I was joking with everybody, talking with everybody. We were getting along great. One guy behind me, he was probably in his mid-20s. There he was on his.
That's awesome that he was there voting.
He was there voting, and he had, and I loved it. He was doing his Facebook Live, and I said, "Is that live? Let me be on there." And I got on there with him, and we just had a blast. And I said, "In this, we're doing our right to vote." And he's like, "Yeah, man, we're doing our right to vote." And I thought that is great. That is great.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And so, but we just got to, and I try to go out of the way. My wife said, "Why do you say so much to other people?" You know, I compliment people on their glasses or their nails or their hair or whatever. White, black, doesn't matter, because I just want to start a conversation with people when I'm out and about. And I think I'm learning more. I can make a better change just by dripping love into people like that out in the world than doing some hashtag somewhere and saying something. Now back to the other, because that was a whole other subject. Not only did you go through cancer, but as a singer, a couple of years ago, or maybe a year and a half, wasn't that long ago, you went through some vocal issues. Tell a little bit about that.
Man, I was at a weekend retreat with the middle schoolers, and I wasn't in the band or anything. We had another band. I was just out there singing, and started noticing that I couldn't go very high. Not like I was going hoarse. It was like bending. So if it was going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it was like 1, 2, like a spasm, and that was terrifying. I remember going to my doctor and him, Scott, saying we need to go up a level or two. So I ended up in Nashville and at a vocal specialist there, and I had a paralyzed nerve, and then I had some nodules starting on my cords. So they said, so I went there for them to tell me, here's what you're going to do. And in a couple weeks when the tour starts,
right.
Actually, it was like 2 weeks till the tour starts for Christmas tour. Here's what you can do to fix it. And she started with, if you ever want to sing again, here's what we need to do. And I was like, you know?
Yeah.
And so they did laser surgery on my vocal cords. And she said, that's how we're going to handle that. She said, for the nerve that's bending your voice, there is no treatment for that. So you are going to have to be quiet and wait.
Oh.
Scott, you know me.
Yeah.
What's the two things?
Wait or be quiet. That's right.
And word. So I was like, you have got to be kidding. So I went into a season of silence. I just finished the record, Oh My Soul. I'm sorry, just finished the record, Only Jesus.
Only Jesus, yeah.
And canceled a Christmas tour, gone. And devastated. I was devastated that we had to do that, because people at Christmas have 1 or 2 major events you're going to go to, and your family plans around it.
Right.
And I just kiboshed that for people. And I've got crew and everybody that planned on working, and just, it really sunk me a little bit. And then possibly not even starting the next tour. I was silent for about a month and a half, I think. So that was a long season. I started getting it back. We toured with Zach Williams, and we had it figured out. We had Austin French and Zach Williams. I said, all right, my doctor says I could sing one song, and then like maybe you come out and sing one of our songs, and then we'll have Megan do one, and then I'll come out. We had it all spaced out, we had videos made, and that's how we limped into this thing.
Right.
Starting the tour. And man, it was a long, tough season. And even now, I'm maybe a good 70%. Oh, wow. And like Sunday mornings are the hardest. I really have trouble on Sunday morning. I'm a night singer, and so this has made that tougher. But it keeps you praying.
And for those of you who don't know, Sunday mornings, you're part of our worship team and at our church, and so he
All
comes
Crowns
back.
is.
Right,
So,
exactly.
yeah, we don't lead it, but we're on the team. So
Right,
so
right.
I'm hopping in and singing when the other guys aren't, and that's we've always done that from the start.
Mm-hmm.
But it's made it pretty tough, and
Right.
just a lot more work to sing, and it makes you more thankful for getting to sing too.
Yeah, exactly. Now, for those that might be young singers or songwriters, what
Can we
would you?
take a moment for
Yeah.
Yoda, the DJ?
Oh, yeah. Look at there.
I'm gonna get you one. Yours is a little plain. You got the black going, but you
Yeah,
need.
I
I know
need
we need
something.
slimming,
I
but you
need
need a
something.
little something.
Well, somebody asked me the other day. We made some masks, and Donna did the Jesus thing on the mask. Because I
Oh,
thought,
cool.
if you're gonna wear a mask, let's promote the name of Jesus. But I don't wear a mask. And somebody told me, she said, that's a little online. Of course, it was all online. People said,
Everybody's courageous online.
that's
They
a
can
little
call you out.
hypocritical of you to sell masks and you not wear them yourself. I said, I sell Christian T-shirts, but I don't wear Christian T-shirts, because that's just. But other people like them and they're encouraged from them, and
Yeah, yeah.
and so that we do that. But
Hypocritical. It feels. I don't know what it is. It feels good
I know.
about. It's kind of like when somebody pulls in front of you in traffic and you drive back by them. You have to drive back by so you can go.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what people on Facebook feel when they can kind of call us out a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that didn't seem very Christ-like. And I don't know if in their head they're going, yeah, spike the computer, score.
I know.
But it's really goofy.
So,
I don't even read comments. I barely read comments anymore. I'm like, I got to step back.
Right.
Now, when Twitter first started, that was like the thing. That was comments, and if somebody was rude to me,
yeah.
I was a little younger, maybe a little sharper, had a little bit more of a bite to me, and I wouldn't say anything ugly back. I would just retweet them. Hey, look what this guy said.
Yeah.
Everybody goes, I was like, okay, Mark, all right, that might still not be okay, buddy.
That's right.
We need to back up.
So, as a singer-songwriter, there's some young singers out there and songwriters that are trying to make it. What advice would you give them? Because I'm sure you've given that advice to a lot of people.
Well, there's a lot of different ways I would give advice there. When I hear people word it in a way that is like, I just have this vision of me standing in front of thousands of people doing this. When I hear them say that, that's a red flag.
Right.
When I hear someone saying, I really want to take this to the next level, that's a red flag. Not meaning that they're wrong or in sin, but it just lets me know.
Maybe the motive.
Nobody in Scripture had a
Right.
goal to be in front of 1,000 people. They had a goal to do whatever Jesus said. The very next thing he says, what they would do. You put me here, I bloom here. You put me here, I bloom here. That's what they did. They didn't vision for more people. They just whatever God's vision was. And so one of the things I want to talk to young artists is the goal in front of you. You're leaning towards where your heart is. Has God got your heart in that? Because it might be that where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be, and that God put you there on purpose because we know He did, right? And you might be missing out what God's good day because you're thinking so hard about next week. So number one, it's not a padding kind of an answer, but it's just truth. If God starts something, God comes, not us. God moved us into the radio and labels. That wasn't something we were looking for. Because He started it, there's less of a pressure on us to sustain it. Now we're just like, all right, God, this is what you did. We're going to follow you. But if you're constantly churning out your own thing, I don't know. That's a heart thing. That's not that's not saying be lazy and don't try and that's crazy too. But your heart is everything. So I would always want to talk to the heart of a writer and the heart of a singer, and let God form that into ministry. Is taking what you do and saying, all right, Jesus, how can I point people to you with this? That's what ministry is. So that's what you lean into. From that, God may want you to stay in that church.
Right.
Or He may want you to go out. You just got to understand that's not a next level. There's no next level. There's just, where does God have me? Where can I follow Him? So that would be my encouragement in that way. Mm-hmm. If you had a band, or you're writing your own songs, I'll always say to any singer, are you writing? Mm-hmm. Because everybody sings. Go to Nashville and go to Chili's. Everybody at Chili's working there in Nashville sings way better than me. All right.
Right.
What music world wants to know is, are you writing your own songs? Okay. So you need to start writing, and then you need to start serving where you are. those would be some of my advices.
That's great stuff. Great stuff. Because we grow where we're planted. That's what I tell
Yeah,
people. Grow where we're
yeah, I
planted.
do.
And our pastor, I guess former pastor now, still friends of ours, Tim Dowdy, always says, wherever Jesus leads, that's where we'll follow. And I think
Right,
that goes right in with what you're saying. Where he's
right.
leading, you follow that direction. Don't try to make it happen. Just follow Jesus. Now,
Yeah.
I know that you love comedy because you told me one time, because you follow a lot of different comedians, you love
Yeah.
comedy, and you told me one time that I would hate to be a comedian because when you go out, that's what people expect. They expect you to
Oh
be
yeah.
funny. But
Oh
as a
yeah.
but as
I'll
a
tell funny stories,
but
and
but you're
and
very funny, and that's great because in your concerts, you said it's great because in concerts I can do a funny story, and people say, "Oh, he's a singer who happens to be funny," and it works out
yeah,
well.
yeah. Like for me, I use humor a lot when I teach. I use
Mhm.
humor a lot when I do concerts. And people will say you should be a comedian. And I say absolutely never will
That's
that
right.
happen. Because if a singer comes out and says something funny, hey, that's funny. If he says something and it's not funny, no worries, because here's the next song.
Right,
But if you
exactly.
come out and say I'm a comedian,
Yeah.
the world's like, okay, what you got?
Oh
What you
yeah.
got, funny man?
Oh yeah.
There's
It's
no
hard.
way in the world I would try what you try, man. Ain't happening, dude. Not happening. I'm a stealth comedy. I'm gonna slide it in there, and if it works, it works.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I ain't stepping up on that mic.
And that's
Jawan's
one
been
thing
doing it some too.
that's one thing I've always loved about you. Even before I knew you sang and you spoke, even Billy Lord said kids love him. They laugh. He's funny, and that's great because you've got and that's not just little one line jokes. You got little stories that tell.
If
You
I
know.
plan a joke in a
Oh
sermon,
yeah, yeah, right.
nothing.
It's just got to
What,
happen.
what I do is while I'm gathering my thoughts, because I've chased a bunny in my head, I
Right.
just say something goofy, and they're like, oh, so you can't even really take credit for that stuff.
Stuff that just happens. Sometimes I might say something comes out and it laughs, and you got to write it down. So I got to remember that for next time. 'Cause
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was that was good. Billy Lord was with me one time up in Illinois or something. I had him go with me and open for a concert and play and sing. And it was a Lutheran church. We'd sold out 2 shows, and I always started out with this. I sang a song first, and then did this one little joke, and it usually got great laughs. And I did that joke, and it was crickets.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I looked over there, and Billy's off stage just dying laughing. I mean, he is just rolling over laughing because nobody's laughing at my joke.
Nobody laughed.
And they laughed at other stuff. It's because it's funny. And I don't know if you've ever noticed this too, but different
Yes.
crowds laugh at different things.
Yes.
One thing can be one story they just bowl up. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Another one's like, and what? Or it's just it's different. It depends on where you are in the crowd and what happens.
Yeah,
Now,
like on the road, I'm telling stories. I tell funny stories about Voice of Truth and being dyslexic, and as you go from town to town, you settle into a rhythm of what you say,
exactly.
and you get used to where people laugh,
Right.
and it just kind of happens. But then you'll get to somewhere like, man, there's some states up north that don't happen, man.
That's right.
Fargo. I tell
Yeah.
a joke in Fargo, it's not going to land the same. Or in Nebraska, I don't know. It's a different kind of humor up there, man. And then you find yourself saying things like, and so, yeah, and so.
Exactly.
That's how you know the guy that thought they were going to laugh and they didn't.
That's right. That's the night we said, man, I should have opened with a closing word of prayer. Let's go home because that was it. Because this is not good. I love funny stories. Now you've been traveling on the road for years. You got to have things that's happened on the road that's funny. Tell me a good one.
Dude, they're always being an ADD guy. There are always moments where things happen that catch my attention. So the flag people that show up at the concerts always kind of like, whoa, what is going on? Or air drummer in the front row or something like that. We've had people say things and start talking to me, and that throws me for a loop, man. When they're talking to me, it's like I can't even think what I'm saying.
Right.
I ripped my pants one time on stage, tried to jump up on a little riser, and just ripped them right down the middle. And luckily, it was the last song, so I just kind of bent over and was like, yeah, kind of did the Toby Mac thing at the end. The biggest one lately was on this last tour I think it was with Zach. I fell off the stage during the concert.
Because these stages
we
are
were-
kind of like a stage, but then you had like a long, almost
Yes.
like a runway thing, right?
You got a big stage, and you got this little runway, and then you got this square.
Right.
So when you're stepping out of the square into that little runway, it's between songs and lights go out. So we had just finished a big song, and we were singing the song. I'll let you know the song in a second. But when the lights went out, I just walked right off the stage, and fell. And that feeling you get, when you're like, this is happening.
Right.
I landed on my feet, but the stage is like 5 feet tall. So my arm was out, and I just went blam, landed right there. So it hit my ribs, hit my arm, and I caught myself and landed. And it just shook every bone in my body. And it's pitch black. So no one knows that I've fallen. They just hear the people in the crowd kind of scream, right? So immediately my pastor brain's on. I'm like, make sure everybody's okay. Make sure everybody's okay. So I get up and I do what we just started talking about. I started popping jokes.
Yeah.
So I get up. I'm like, okay, we're doing good. We're good. I said, I'm just kind of moving around, making sure everything's still on. Yes. And then I started talking about how you fall when you're a kid, but when you're an adult, you have a fall. And right. I'm at that point where falling down is an event now. That this is going to last forever, right?
Right.
So I'm popping jokes as I'm walking back up to the stage and walking back on the stage, keeping everybody okay, because we got to go into another song, and it's east to west, so we got to go into this chill moment, Right. So I'm kind of reassuring them, and realizing that as the adrenaline starts to settle during east to west, I start realizing, okay, I may have broken a rib. Something's not good here. And then I'm like, okay, something's wrong with my hip. Okay, my shoulder. Because, when you get hurt, your body protects itself. And I start realizing I am hurting a lot right now. The rest of the concert I had black and blue up here. But the funniest part of it is the song that I stepped off the stage with was a song called One Step Away. So I basically said, one step away. That's exactly what happened.
Oh my gosh.
I telegraphed it.
That is hilarious.
I wrote that song a year before and prophesied that moment.
That's right. You're one step away from breaking every bone in my body.
I called Mark Miller afterwards, and he's just tough. He talks like this, everything he says.
Right.
And I said, bro, I sent him a picture of the blue ribs. I said, dude, I fell off the stage tonight. And his text was, did you finish the show? And I said, yes. He said, my boy. And that was it.
My gosh.
That was his comfort and love.
Everybody got cell phones these days. Did anybody get that on tape?
I think somebody had a video of it going dark.
Right.
And you hear but that was about it. We needed some video of that.
That was it. That was it. I am so glad that you joined me today for this interview. And now, what's next? Because you're probably like every singer out there. The whole past 3 months have been canceled. Wasn't canceled, but I guess you got it moved, right? So when is the next thing? When does it start back up?
Well, the tour that we were 4 weeks in, I believe, or 3 weeks in when we got shut down, and so we just rescheduled them for the fall. Of course, those are in the air, so you all you can do is wait and see. Events were the first thing to go, and they'll be the last things to come back.
Right.
And so right now we're actually working on a drive-in theater tour to start here in July. And all I know is that we're doing it. Like I said, I'm not the smart one. So so they'll tell me where to go. But we're working on cities all around the country where we'll come and just do a drive-in theater. Everybody sits in their cars and we just have a good time. And I'm just looking forward to getting back to my people and loving on the church. I think the church really needs it right now in so many ways. And I'm a youth pastor here, but I kind of feel like I'm like a youth pastor to a lot of people out there.
Sure.
I'm like a road pastor. So I just want to get out there and encourage the church.
Absolutely. Now, best way to find out about the dates is castingcrowns.com.
Yeah.
Casting
I
Crowns.
would say that.
Castingcrowns.com.
I'm so not good at this part. I would say castingcrowns.com.
Yeah. And
I'm Mark Hall CC on Instagram. So Mark Hall CC is how you can find me, and I'll be talking.
And I'll put all that stuff up here too on the screen, and so everybody will see that. Mark Hall CC for Instagram, and of course castingcrowns.com. And I think through the Casting Crowns website you can find the Facebook, because you got 4 million people on your Facebook or something like that. Oh, before we go, I got to tell this, because this is special to me. I loved watching this. I thought it was great. The last probably 3 times I've seen Casting Crowns, only Crown member in there that was the original band member were you, and I think Brian with the drummer, but the rest of them were your kids, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
man.
John
Yeah, we've been
Michael
doing it.
and Zoe and
Reagan.
Reagan. I mean, all doing it together with you guys. That had to be special.
It's been really nice, and those are on. I think those are on the Crown's Facebook too.
Yeah.
But just doing little concerts with my kids. Reagan and Zoe lead worship here with the students, and John Michael's a bass player here in the worship band, and just getting to do ministry with your kids there's nothing like that. My goal is just to be their background singer. I just want to sit back on a stool and just throw in some harmonies, and they can take care of me.
We've been doing the virtual church thing for several weeks, and so Sundays I'll get up at 5 till 11 to watch our service, and I'll be sitting there watching, got my Bible and everything, got my coffee. I love that because I'm sitting in my underwear, watch church, I love that. But I try to watch others after that. I watch Greg Laurie and different ones, and I flipped over to First Baptist Atlanta, and there you were with all your kids, and it wasn't like 2 songs. Y'all did like the whole thing.
It was a lot.
And it was a lot, and it was great, and they did such a great job, and I just love their voices. And John Michael is now, I mean, this is kind of cool for you because you went through this whole youth pastor stuff, and now he's married.
Yes, brand new husband.
Oh my goodness! So
they're doing good, and they're just be praying for them as they get ready for their new seasons, because everything's kind of on pause right now.
Yeah.
So I think they're getting cranked up again too, just work and different things.
Well, and I want everybody to pray for them. They're great kids, and they great heart for Jesus, and that's just awesome to see them ministering out there and taking their gifts and letting God use. So thank you so much for being with me today, Mark. We'll be praying for you. We'll be praying for your voice, and so glad that you're cancer free. And we'll pray as hopefully you write some more great songs for the church. That's really encouraging. So thank you so much.
Good to hear from you, Scott. Thanks for letting me do this.
All right, brother. Love you.
Love you, bro.
That was a fun time with Mark Hall of Casting Crowns. I appreciate everybody sticking with me as we did that interview. And please share that. It will be archived once it all processes and whatever it does on the internet. It will be on YouTube. .com/Scott Davis TV. Let me see if I can find that again right there. So go to youtube.com/Scott Davis TV, and you can see that one. You can see a bunch of these interviews. And Donna's right. I need to call these conversations with Scott Davis because I do talk with them instead of just ask questions. So I might change that to conversations with Scott. So, but share that with people and subscribe over at youtube.com and ring the bell. And if you can, here are the 4 ways, we don't get paid for any of this, and we want to be a blessing to people, obviously, but I could probably go a few months with no food and be okay, which would be fine. But if any of you feel led to give, here are the websites, scottdavis.com/donate. There's a PayPal link and the Square Cash for all of you who are millennials out there. You can use Venmo, and so check out all those little places that you can maybe give a little bit to help our ministry. And pray. We're heading back on the road. 2 weeks, Mabel, White Baptist in Macon, and then Florida the next week. Go to scottdavis.com and click on the tour page, and you'll see all this. Pray for us as we get back out there. And then also that music video that Don and I did. Over 1,100 people have seen it so far. Go over there and share that too. But I want to say thank you again to Mark Hall for being with me today. And when that archives over at YouTube, share it with people. So love you folks. Thanks for joining me today and for all the comments. And take care. Get out. Enjoy life and share Jesus.